The topic is US student visa interview questions to prepare for. What should you prepare for? Uh, some people go for the interview not knowing exactly what they should prepare for, not knowing exactly what is required of them, not knowing exactly what they should say. Okay, so and many people who go for interviews in that way eventually don't get the desired result. So first and foremost, we want to start with the student visa category. What is a student visa category? And we are used to the jackpot trend, right? Everybody just talking about the jackpot. I received so many questions in my DM, and people just talk, bros, just help me. I just want to leave Nigeria. I just want to leave Cameroon. I just want to leave Ghana. I just want to travel. And I asked them, what do you want to go and do there? What's your purpose? What, like, I asked a question on my timeline. If you follow my timeline, I said, is your purpose just to jackpot, or you really want to study? Okay, I have someone who was asking the question, I just want to go. In fact, you even see someone asking questions, some people asking questions, can I leave my studies once I get there? I just run away from school, something like that. Okay, so you really need to define the purpose. Now, the US visa category for students, the F1 and F2 category, they are non-immigrant visas. So that's the first thing you should know, that they are non-immigrant visa. It's not for you to migrate, it's for you to just go and study. That's the purpose of those visa categories. It's just for you to go and study. Okay, so it's not per se for migration to say, oh, I'm leaving this country, I'm never coming back again. The purpose is for you to just go and study and come back to your own country. Okay, that's the purpose of the visa categories: F1 visa, F2 visa. F2 visa is for the dependents of the main students. Okay, the main students will apply for F1 visa, while the dependent of the student, which can be the wife or the children, not the parents, not the brothers or siblings. Okay, the wife or the children, they are the dependents. The F2 category is for them. And it's for you to be close to your immediate family while you are studying, if you have such. All right. So the F1 and F2 category of visas is for, they are non-immigrant visas, and they are not meant for you to, it's not for you to work to settle down or something, or jackpot. They know the normal jackpot trend that we've been talking about. Now, let's back up a bit. Let's say you are a student, you have applied to a school, you successfully got admission, let's say with funding. I want to use ideal situations. Let's say you got it with funding. The next thing you do is that you request for what is called the I-20. Now, I-20 is a document from the school that shows that it's a document from the school in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security, I think, and all those normal agencies in the US, is to say that, yeah, you've been admitted into this school, and then this is the proof. And it also shows the proof of funding that you have, like, oh, this person has been admitted, this person has this particular funding, and we are taking this person into our school. So that's the category. I mean, that's what I-20 is. Your school sends the I-20 to you, and then your I-20 is a legal document that you can take to the visa, to tell them, to the embassy rather, and tell them that, yes, I already have this admission from this school. It shows the proof of fund, either you are sponsoring yourself or the school is giving you some assistantship, whichever way. It shows that shows up in the I-20, and then the visa officer or whoever can say that, okay, this is true, this shows that this person is a student. Okay, so you need your I-20, you process your I-20. That's the first thing you do after you get the admission. You process your I-20. What do you need to process your I-20? Most schools, all schools generally, will request for what is called the certificate of financial responsibility. What it simply means is that you are financially responsible. That what it simply means, that how are you going to take care of yourself? Who is funding your education? Like I said, if you are funding yourself, you send your bank statement to the school. Okay, you send your bank statement, proof of fund, which we call POF, proof of fund. If you've seen me tweet before and I mentioned POF, that's proof of fund. You send it to the school. If you have an assistantship, for example, you can send to the letter you receive from your department to the international office. Okay, and of course, they will compare an assistantship. So in your I-20, they will list all the expenses that is expected. I mean, projected expenses. Let me use that word for one whole year. They will use that projected expenses, and they will use the other column will be the funding available. Okay, so they'll probably say tuition, maybe $10,000, maybe living expenses, $5,000, maybe books, and they list all those things. Let's say eventually the expenses is like $20,000. The other category is how much you have. Okay, now for those who have funding from the department, it will the other column will read something like assistantship or scholarship, and they will put the amount. Okay, so it is expected that the funding or the money available for you is at least equal to the expenses, to the expected expenses. Many times it should be more than it. Of course, if you are funding yourself, they will also put it there, self-funding. They will put the amounts you have for self-funding, and then all they want to see is that it's more than that. So the next thing you do is you pay what they call the service fee. Okay, $3 if I can remember. I think $200 or 200 or 250. I think 200. But presently now it's $350. Okay, and then of course I remember even then we could not pay it from Nigeria. Many people could not pay it from Nigeria. Even till now, people are not able to pay from Nigeria. You have to find someone probably in the US, Canada, somewhere who can help you to pay. That's been some people go to Benin Republic to pay, I think, through Western Union, because I try to go into that. You pay what we call the service fee. After you pay the service fee, now you must be sure that your service fee has been paid and then it has been generated online, that your fee has been paid, that your service fee has been paid. Because someone reached out to me recently, this person scheduled the interview already, the person scheduled his F1 interview already, but the person paid the service fee late. I think the person paid it a day to his F1 interview, a day to his interview date, that a day or 2 days. And the thing was not showing online at that time. Okay, and when he got to the embassy, this guy was denied. Like, he does not even have a proof of the service fee, because you must have a proof that you've paid service fee. Once you go online and you see it there, you must print it out. Those are some of the documents you take to the embassy. When you visit the US website, the US visa website for Nigerians, you will see all this information there, things you should bring. So your I-20 is very important to take it along. Your proof of service fee, the proof that you have paid the service fee, very important. You take it along with you. So this guy didn't take the proof of service fee along with him. That was so unfortunate, and was denied. I think he even had funding. I can't remember. It was denied, and it's difficult to get interview dates in Nigeria now, so he has to do all the struggles all over again. So you make sure you have paid for the service fee. You print it out. You print out the proof of payment. It's one of the things you take along to the embassy for your interview. And then the next thing you want to do is, of course, you pay what we call the visa fee. I think the visa fee presently is $160. $160 in naira. I can't remember presently what uh, the official rate they are changing it. They are charging it. GT Bank. That's where many people pay the visa fee. GT Bank. So you make sure you pay your visa fee too, and you take the proof along with you. And of course, your proof of funding, POF, whichever form it is, either you are funding yourself, either you are receiving assistantship from the department, whichever way, you take all these things along with you to the embassy. Let me not talk too much about how to get interview dates. Just go online. What do we call this website again? I've forgotten the website now. Just search YouTube now. I mean, Google. You'll be able to find the website where you schedule your interview date. Presently, since COVID-19 happened, it's been difficult to get interview dates in Nigeria. So it's a struggle now. It's a lot of struggle. It's a lot of struggle. But let me say quickly, I think 2020, the thing the US Embassy did was that they created a special opening for those who will be students, those who are going to resume as students. They created a special opening for them so that they can get an interview date. So I'm not sure they've not. Okay, I think they did it once after that. I'm not sure they are doing it again. I don't know why, but they did it that time so that students will not have problem getting an interview date. Well, even presently now, they are still saying students are being given priority. So I know many people who have questions about, oh, US is not granting interview date, they are not doing interviews for people until 2024, blah blah and blah. Students are still getting that preference. Okay, it's mostly those with visiting visas, those who are coming for visiting, for visit B1, B2, and all those stuff, all those type of visas that are really having the issue now. Of course, a student can also try to schedule the interview date now and see very far date like July 2023. I think someone was speaking to me in DM. Maybe got July 2023 as interview date, and it's to resume in January, I think. So that also happens. Now, what I advise people to do is to keep on checking the site, keep on checking the website, keep on checking the date. Sometimes some dates just pop up, just suddenly pop up, and then you're able to pick a new date. I have a friend like that. What is simply, in fact, another friend, as he was trying to pick a date, a new date just came to him, I think a week before that time, a week after the time was doing that, and then was able to do his interview. So I advise you keep on checking. Now, of course, if you keep on checking and you can't find a date, one of the things you can also do is to request for an emergency do an emergency request. Okay, the emergency request simply means that they want to grant you an emergency date. I know a lot of people who did emergency request and it was granted. All you need to do is to I-20, very very important, the I-20 and the proof of service fee. Those are the two major documents that are needed to prove that you are a student. All right. So let's say you've gotten your I-20, you've paid your service fee, you have your interview date already, and then you want to go for the interview. What should you expect? What should you expect? Now, the first thing you should know is that the VO is just something in the ideal setting. Okay, that's what the VO is trying to do. The VO is trying to, now you are applying as a student, the VO is trying to check that are you uh, qualified to come into our country to do what you have said you want to do, or are you saying the truth about who you say you are? You said you are a student. The VO just wanted to prove to him or her that you are indeed a student, and then you'll be coming back to your home country. Remember, from the beginning, I said F1 and F2 categories or student categories, they are non-immigrant, be according to a non-immigrant. So your questions, everything you are saying should boil down to the fact that you are coming back to your home country. You are not going to stay in their country forever. You are not going there to forget yourself there. Okay, you are coming back to your country. You are coming back to Nigeria, to Ghana, to Cameroon, to India, whichever country you are applying from. You are trying to prove to them that, see, I'm a student. All I'm trying to do is to study in your country and come back to my home country. And that's what the VO wants to see. I'm distracted. Some people are asking questions on YouTube, so they are distracting. Don't worry, guys, on YouTube. I will come to these questions. I will come to this question. We have time for questions, and then we will be able to answer it. Okay. So you want to prove to the VO that I'm a student. I'm coming back to my home country after my studies. Number two, you want to also prove to this video that I have what it takes financially to study in your country. I will not be stranded in your country. I have what it takes financially to study successfully in your country. And those are the major things that the VO wants to see. So all the questions that you'll be asked is just around the same thing. The VO wants to say that you are a genuine student. The VO wants to say that you are coming back to your home country. And the VO wants to see that you have the financial resources needed to study successfully in their country. Okay, so major first question. The first question many people get now, the videos are changing it these days. They tweak it. They come with the questions in different form. Now, the first question is this. Let's say the viewer asks you, what what are the first question for many people? What are you going to do in the United States? Very typical first question. Now, your response is basically what you are going to do and where. Okay, I tell people just tell the VO, for example, let's say I'm I'm a physics student here now, right? What I told the VO is that I'm going to the United States to study for a PhD program in physics at Florida State University, blah 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 blah. I just told the VO simple answer, straightforward. Just go straight to the answer. Give the VO. Okay. Um, all right. I can see a lot of people. I Bankole on Twitter too. My friend on Twitter. But we'll come to greetings later. Let's just move ahead. So your response will be that I'm going to study at so university. Blah blah blah. Simple. Okay. The VO may ask another question and say, why United States? Why did you choose United States? So if you receive such a question, what's the viewer expecting you to say? The viewer is simply expecting you to prove that you have a good rationale for choosing the United States. For example, when I chose the United States, I said, yeah, we know that the United States is a superpower when it comes to technology. With what I intend to study, I simply linked it to my research work on that take. So US is a superpower when it comes to tech, engineering, and sciences, and all these things. And then my research work involves this and that. And I believe the United States has the facilities, research facilities needed to help my study, to aid my study, blah 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 blah. Okay, basically that's what you want to say. You just want to link it to what you are doing. Okay, why US is the best for what you are doing. I've given an example of a guy I'm a friend of mine who has become a friend of mine actually. In fact, his text message just entered now too. Who was asked is a French major, and then was asked from the embassy in Ghana. The question was why not France? Why don't you go to France? So why United States? That was a question that was thrown to him. And his response basically went down the line of technology. Because now when you talk about languages and all these things that's evolved so much that people are writing code, people are using technology to study it, linguistics and all this stuff. Those who do speech pathology and all those stuff, they are using technology to do all these things. And then French is a language too. It falls into that same category. And it was simply able to tell them that, yes, this is what it's going to do because US is leading in that world, in that field. The technology is there to really do this thing. And of course, there is a mixed community here too of some French speakers. That's not, I don't really consider that a strong answer because someone would have said, but you study more, you learn more in France. But you use technology to answer that question, and that was very beautiful. Okay, so you can be asked, why United States? Why are you choosing United States to study? Okay. And another question that may come to you straight away is, how many schools did you apply to? Now, one of the things the viewer is looking for there is to see, okay, is this person really a serious candidate, really a serious student? Is this person really serious and all those stuff? Okay. Of course, basically, you just mentioned the number of schools you applied to and those who gave you admission. Okay. Another question may be, why did you choose this particular university? Okay. Now, some people give general answers. I usually tell people that what you wrote in your SOP should be one of the factors, some of the things you can take into consideration. Okay, so there are some of the things you can take into consideration. Why did you choose that schools? There is specific research facilities. Talk about the specific research facilities. For example, in FSU here, there is the National Magnetic Laboratory here. It is the highest magnetic powered laboratory in the world. So I simply told them that there is MagLab, Magnetic Laboratory here, IS magnetic powered lab in the world, this and that. So it attracted me to the school, and I want to be where all those professors, all those people, all those best bright guys in the world come around and converge and all those things. Those are some of my answers. Okay, it can be a particular professor. You may say the research work of Professor XYZ attracted me, and then we discuss so much, blah, 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 blah. Just something unique. It may be about an institute that you have there, an institute of so in collaboration with this and that. recently, and then I'm not sure it's probably here too. Okay, I can say him here, but anyway, it's a nice story, so I can share it. It's a beautiful testimony because he got his visa approved. Now, when I threw the question at him, he started talking about they have good teachers, those general things that people say. They have teachers, they have all those general things. And I told him that won't cut it. And I said, what is that specific thing about your university? Specific research facilities, specific thing that they have. And then he said, he doesn't know. I said, you have to search the website. You have to go through the website. And then even myself, I had to go to the website while we were doing that mock interview, check through the website, comb through the website. And I saw some of those beautiful things that they have, some of those beautiful collaborations that they have with professors from other schools, some of the, what they call, I've forgotten the name they call this thing. They call it, I can't remember the exact name they call it, but it's like a facility that they have. It's into agriculture and all those stuff. So, and I said, these are the things you should talk about. Okay, so you have to comb through the school website, the departmental website, and know the exact facilities of the world. You have to know the exact thing they have. For example, there are schools in different places that are affiliated with national laboratories. There are schools that are affiliated with institutes of health or so. There are students doing internships at different places, or there are those affiliations. Those are some of the beautiful reasons you can give. And of course, the research work of a professor can also be some of the things you can say. Now, that tells the VO that, okay, this guy is a serious student. He's serious about research. Okay. Oh, this is really a serious student. Because all the VO cares about is to know if you are a serious student or not. That's what the VO cares about. They want to know if you are indeed a student. And I'll tell you why they do this and why it's important. There has been reports over time of some people who just get to the United States, and then once they jackpot from their country to the United States to study. And once they get to the United States, they jackpot away from their school. The school will not find them, they won't see them again, and the school will report back to whether Department of Homeland Security or Border and Customs Service or whatever, or USCIS, whichever way, maybe Homeland Security and maybe USCIS, that we don't have this student in our school. Is not enrolled, is no longer enrolled in our school. Okay, and what that means is that the person has automatically fallen out of status. Okay, because you didn't resume. You are not doing what you said you want to come to the United States to do. So once that has happened to such a person, the person just starts hiding around, maybe go underground or whatever. Okay, so that has happened. So they want to confirm that this person that is in front of me interviewing is actually a student, is indeed a student. So you must do your best to impress the VO so much that the VO can say without an iota of doubt that you are indeed a student. Okay, that you are indeed a student. Another question that can come is, who is funding you? It's a very big question. Okay, this is a very big question because funding is a big issue. The VO wants to be sure that you have what it takes financially to remain, to study in the US. The VO wants to be sure. Sorry, 1 minute. I have to drink a few seconds. All right, the VO wants to be sure that you will not just get to the United States and you become stranded and you are looking for money around, maybe begging people, add to those who are homeless, and then start sleeping under the bridge, in the car, start sleeping in homeless shelters and the like. So the VO wants to ensure that these students, this person has the money required to study. At least they want to see the proof for at least a year. Okay, so and that's one of the very important questions you can be asked, and you need to prove. So, who is funding your studies? Of course, if you have an assistantship from the school, you just say straight away that I have an assistantship from the school that covers my living expenses, that covers my tuition and my living expenses. If you want to talk about the amount, you can talk about the amount. You may say, I have so many students. It's usually around $50,000. You can say or 60 or 30, depending on how expensive the tuition is, and my living expenses. And you can mention the number of years. You can say renewable for 4 years, even after my first year. Okay, so you can say that to show that comes the view down that, oh, this guy has the money. Now, even if you have not, if you don't have the assistantship, if you are self-funded, that is where the problem is for many people. If you are self-funded, you want to be able to prove that the money is coming from a source that you have access to easily. That you have access to easily. For example, the common sponsor them, and all they did was look for someone who is generating POF. I will come to that because that can get you. I know someone he sent me a message a few days ago. He was banned for 5 years. This guy was banned for 5 years. Okay, I will come to why he was banned for 5 years. Okay, so they know when all those guys prepare POF for you, they say, oh, 2% interest, blah, 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 blah. You pay back after this and that. Then they give you the account statement, you go and use it. How do you want to prove that this person has enough? Okay, of course, they can see from the account statement. How do you want to prove that this person is funding me, is releasing $50,000 every year for me to study? How do you want to prove that? So the problem comes from many people. They say, oh, my uncle. That's the word many people use. And the VOs too now know the meaning of uncle. So, when I received my first admission, that was not with FSU, with another school. They didn't give me funding. So, of course, I was going around this way looking for, oh, where can I get someone to assist me? In my head, I was thinking, when I get to the US, I'll be able to work. I will work hard. Once I just need to get there, I will work. I will hustle and get the money to pay for the tuition and clear my living expenses. And I got someone who, gave me his account statement, rich guy, but his intention was not to really give me the money. Okay, it was just giving me the account statement. And then you see, as I was thinking, okay, what will I say? Is my uncle? Well, yes, now it's my uncle. I was thinking in my head, I've not lied, it's my uncle. Um, you can have uncles in the streets, uncles at work, those type of uncles. And then I said, okay, so how will I prove that this uncle is willing to part with? I think that we were dealing with around $20,000 or $30,000 then. This uncle is willing to part with around $20,000 or $30,000 every year. How do I prove that? Okay, and that's not proof, or someone you just say is an uncle, that this person loves you enough to give you $50,000 every year towards your study. How do you prove that? That's the problem. Because these viewers, they live in the US too. They know what $50,000 means. That's someone's yearly salary. So this uncle does he not have children? Does this uncle not have his own family members? Is he spending all his life savings on you alone? How do you prove it? Now, it's easier if the account statement is in your name, if it's your money. It's easier. I will say, oh, I've saved this money up, or me and myself and my fiance, we have saved this money up for we've been saving for so years, and then we have these savings which are used to offset the cost of this and that. That's easy. Yeah, and so when you are young and it's your parent, and you can say, oh, it's my father, this and that. But when the relationship starts getting thinner and thinner, like you just saying, yeah, the uncle of my cousin's brother, the brother of my cousin's uncle, when the relationship starts going thinner and thinner, and it goes further and further that way, it becomes very difficult to prove the motive for the person giving you the money. Okay, so, and that's why one of the major reasons I think many people are denied visa, F1, F2 visa, is because of funding. It's because of funding. And that's why I encourage those of us who are not from the Dangote type family, like we don't really have that much, you understand? As much as possible, go for the funding as much as possible. One of the things funding will even paint you as is to paint you as a scholar. It paints you as, oh, someone who is, yeah, who is okay, I'm seeing questions on YouTube. I will come to the questions. I will come to the question. It paints you as someone who is yes, serious, someone who can get scholarship, someone who is brilliant. That's the word I'm looking for, because they don't just fund any students, right? They don't just fund any student. So when you get that funding, I believe half of the work is done. The other work is for you to present yourself and then do well during the interview. Okay, so funding, you have to prepare for it well. If you ask me about those who sell POF and all those stuffs, I'll say don't take it. I will say don't go for it. Personally, that's what I think. Because so this guy, okay, I was saying I was going to talk about this guy that sent me a message a few days ago. He was denied because he has a he submitted documents similar to what a friend of his submitted. That was what I said. Submitted documents similar to what a friend of his submitted, and they gave him a 5-year ban. 5 years. 5 years. And what's it that you can submit? Your I-20 can never be the same. Your proof of whatever, your letter of admission can never be the same. What's the thing that can be similar? Proof of fund. So these guys that gave proof of fund around, they give you the same proof of fund, they give another person the same proof of, no, there's an issue. There'll be an issue. Okay, and that's why I don't buy into that idea personally. I don't know, it might work for some other countries, I don't know. But again, even when they give you the proof of fund, you come to the US, you don't have the real money. How do you intend to pay the school fees? How do you intend to pay the tuition? You are only allowed as a student to work for 20 hours per week. Let's say you get a job that pays you $20 per hour. That's $400 per week. 400 times 4, 1,600. You will pay your rent, you will eat, you will pay utilities, you will pay all these things. How do you want to save enough for your tuition? Of course, this may work in other countries. I'm not doubting that fact. But in the US, it's very almost, I won't say it's all, let me just say it's almost impossible to do that. It's almost impossible to do that. Now, the next question the VO may want to ask, of course, the VO is also looking for pointers to the fact that you are coming back to your home country. Okay, so the VO is asking different questions, trying to see, is this guy really coming back to your home country? The VO may ask about what you do currently. Okay, that means just talking about your job. Talk about your job. Talk about what you do currently, and then talk about, okay, I'll come to that. That's a different question. So talk about what you do currently. Talk about your role. The VO may sometimes ask for your salary. Okay, may sometimes ask for a salary. So those are some of the things they want to say. Okay, is this guy really running away? This and that. That shouldn't have too much effect. Now I will come to spouses later when we talk about salary and all those things. Okay, the viewer may ask about your salary, what you do currently. The viewer will also ask you a question: what are your plans after graduation? Don't go there and say, after graduation, I intend to get a job in the United States and then get it's what we call the green card and then settle down in the United States with my family, this and that. No, that video will give you will disapprove of your visa automatically. Okay, that video will not approve that visa. Okay, you need to tell them that you are coming back to Nigeria, you are coming back to Ghana, you are coming back to Cote d'Ivoire, you are coming back to India, you are coming back wherever country, you are coming back immediately after your studies. That's what you should tell them, that you are coming back immediately after your studies. You tell them the plans you have, and that can be linked to what you currently do. For example, when I went for the interview, I was a teacher. I was an A-level, they call us lecturer. I was an A-level lecturer. I was teaching advanced level physics. And then I said, yeah, this is what I currently do. I teach advanced level physics, this and that. Of course, in my DS-160, I didn't talk about DS-160 form. I will come back to that. In my DS-160 form, I already put my history of teaching there, because when I was doing my master's at the University of Ibadan, I was teaching, I was a tutorial assistant. I was assisting a teacher in teaching some 200 level students and all those stuff. So um I already put all those things there. So I already said it, that yeah, I'm teaching students. I love teaching. I mean, it's obvious from my profile that I love teaching. So I told them, yeah, when I finish my studies, I'm coming back to my alma mater, the University of Ibadan, to pick up a lecturing job. And one of the reasons, because yeah, I was a tutorial assistant there, so it's easy for me to just come back in. I still have my professors there, my advisors, and all. And in fact, they really want me. My professor has been teasing me about coming back and all. teaching in the universities in Nigeria and all those stuff. So those are the things I said. So, and it's easy to prove that, oh, this guy is currently teaching, is teaching advanced level physics, or this guy has taught in that same university before as a teaching assistant or tutorial assistant, whichever thing they call it now. So this guy says after his PhD, is coming back to teach because a PhD is really needed in Nigeria to become a lecturer, to become a professor, and all those things. And those are the things I said. So these are some to your country. You're actually coming back to your country. You are not running away. You are not leaving the country because remember, I said from the beginning, what you are applying for is a non-immigrant visa, and you must all your answers must be according to that category. All your answers must be according to that category. You are answering as a non-immigrant. So you don't say things like, well, my auntie is there and I hope to start living with him or with her, blah, blah, blah. Or I hope to find a job. That's automatically disqualification. That's automatic disqualification. So you must be able to tell the VO that you are coming back to your home country to do this, to do that. And again, one of the pointers, one of the things that they can use to judge if you are telling the truth or not, filled in your DS-160 form, because the VO will have your DS-160 form, the field form, with him in front of him while he's asking you questions. Sometimes same thing they have asked in the DS-160 form. Okay. And of course, what you want to ensure again is while you are talking, you want to ensure that while you're speaking, you are saying the same thing like what you have in your DS-160 form. You don't want contradictions. Okay. That's one of the things that proves to the VO that you have actually filled the DS-160 form yourself. Remember, these days now we have agents helping people to just fill form, to fill this, fill that. Some people will not know what they even filled for them. And that's why I say dangerous sometimes. You leave it for an agent to fill for you. Okay. Because sometimes they don't know the response they want to give. They can't reach you on phone quickly. They just want to do something. They have 10, 15 clients that they are trying to work for. They just quickly input something and say, oh, that shouldn't matter. And then they just input something for you. I have a friend that happened to. I mean, it was when he called me and then we had to resolve the issue. In fact, one of the things we had to do, we had to lock out that agent from the DS-160 form. We locked the guy out and changed many things in the DS-160 form. Uh, Even the profile the guy created for interviews, scheduling, and the likes. We locked the agent out, and the agent was calling my friend saying, bros, now, for now, I want to do this. I've not received the full payment, this and that. Said, I bet, forget agent, though. And we did it, and then this guy's wife eventually got the visa after some denials. So those agents, I don't know if they're agents. I'm not saying they're bad guys, but there are some bad agents who are just interested in collecting their money, collecting their balance. They just want to finish that work quickly and get the balance from you. So what you feel in your DS-160 form is very, very important. There must be synchrony between what you are saying and what you have filled in the DS-160 form. For example, if you are filled in DS-160 form that you work in, let's say you are self, what do you call it now? You are self-employed, and that was the highest thing you said. Then on the day you now say, "Oh, I'm a teacher." No, that does not work. That does not work. You can't say that, okay, because that's a contradiction. So the VO starts doubting you because you've started lying. The VO starts doubting you. Is it that you have lied with what you have said, or you have lied in what you have filled in your DS-160 form? So very important when you are filling that form and talking about employment, what you are doing and what you want to come back to the country to do, because there must be a flow, there must be a synchrony. For example, someone may say, oh, I've been working with an NGO. I'm working with an NGO that is into climate, whatever, maybe environmental cleaning, blah, blah. There are some NGOs that all they are doing is about climate. I want to study things about climate change. That's what your research is about. And you've been demonstrating your interest in this research, why you've been talking about why you chose United States, why you chose that particular school and all those stuff. You've been talking about it passionately. And then you say, oh, when you're coming back to the country, you hope to establish an NGO to liaise with government, to do this and that, to drive policies for this and that. That's convincing. Okay. Put yourself in the shoes of the VOs. They are not idiots. They are human beings. well-thinking human beings who are probably even trained in some emotional psychological stuff that they can detect someone who is trying to lie or trying to say what they want to hear too and all those stuff. Okay, so they can detect. They are human beings. They are very intelligent. Okay, uh, of course they are humans, which means that sometimes they can be very subjective and may not be objective at all times. Yes, that's possible, but they just want to hear the right things. They just want to hear the right thing. So that's how you answer the question about your future goals. Now, one of the questions they can also ask is this: are you married? Are you married? Now, take note. Some people may fill their DS 160 form when they were not married. Okay, and then they appeared after consistency. In that case, you can make that clarification that yes, um, you were not married when you filled the form, and then but you are married now. Okay, but again, I always say follow what you have said in the DS 160 form. Now, people are usually afraid and they say, oh, what happens if I'm not married when I went for the interview and I got married after the interview and my wife is in Nigeria? Will that affect my wife? No, it has no negative impact. The wife simply needs to prove that you guys are married, and then with the date and time, everything that happened after your interview. Of course, some people in the interview, during interview, have said before that they have been intending. The viewer imputes what you are saying in a system. There, you see them typing when they are when you are speaking, you are talking, and they are typing. They are just putting some. I believe what they are doing is to put some information in your profile, so that when you come back later in the future, or your wife comes later in the future, they will say yes, because there was someone. They asked him, "Will your wife be joining you in your study during your study?" And this guy said no, because he was trying to get the what do you call it now? He was trying to prove home ties. You know, there's something we call home ties. I will talk about that after this. He was joining me. And the VO said, "Are you sure?" Well, we are noting this down. And the guy said, "Yes, my wife is not joining me." And of course, when the VO says, "Are you sure?" And true to their word, when the wife went months after for an interview, they told them, "Your husband said you are not joining him." In fact, I know someone who sent me a message sometimes ago and said the husband said, I believe the lady was even angry that the husband said during the interview that she's not joining. That was what the husband said. So don't use your husband, I mean your spouse, as umpire to say, I have them in Nigeria, blah blah. No, no. What I believe you say is when they say, "Will your husband be there?" Maybe because of job, maybe because of whatever, or because you want to settle down first. Okay. Now, one of the things I believe you can use as home tie is number one, that's your future goal, which you mentioned. Remember, you mentioned your future goals, what you will do after your study, can be an home tie. Sometimes it comes down to the job too. The job you are doing can be an home tie. For example, someone who is going for a master's, a 2-year master's, working in, let's say, DPR. You are working with DPR, Department of Petroleum Resources, where the money is in Nigeria, and your salary is, let's say, 2 million per month, or 3 million per month. Per annum, you are receiving like maybe 30 million per annum. No, that's 36 million, around 36 million per annum. And then you get to the interview, the VO sees everything, sees big money, and then you tell them you're having a leave from work, and then you are coming back to pick up your position after your study, after your master's study. That's really convincing, because that's big money. You are earning something big. That's your own tie for you too in that situation, and you are earning something big already. So they don't see you as someone who is really desperate to just run away and jackpot. Remember, VOs are online. VOs as they see all our jackpot stuff. They watch YouTube videos. They watch all those things. It's even possible that a VO is on this space. That's a possibility. Okay, so it looks like they know what the salary looks like. They know someone who is collecting 100K, the type of lifestyle you can live with someone collecting 2 million. They know how comfortable the person is, because they are also living in the country. They are also living in Nigeria. So they can make the difference. So someone who is collecting 36 million per annum and says, "Yes, I'm only going for a 2 month a 2-year master's. I have my job secured. I'm coming back. I'm having a leave." And you have the leave letter from your company, and you tell them, "I'm coming back to the country to do this." It's easily believable. Someone who has a startup company, for example, um, who is collecting, let's say, 50K and says, I'm coming back for this. Now, you have to do that. If it's a company owned by someone and you're coming back to, let's say, it's a secondary school. Okay, let me use myself as an example. When I was teaching A levels, then it's a school owned by, it's a missionary school, a mission school. Of course, my salary then was just 80K officially, aside from the side hustles that I do, all those home lessons and all those stuffs. So 80K, that was what I think I wrote in my DS 160. 80K is just the money I wrote, because all the other income, they are seasonal. Okay, so I wrote 80K. So imagine I was telling the viewer at that time that, yes, I'm coming back to take up my job, my 80K job with a PhD. That doesn't sound believable. So I had to step it up. Said, no, I'm not taking that job. Yeah, I love teaching, but I'm going into the university. That's where I'm going to. I'm going to take up my job at the University of Ibadan. I'm going to take up a job at the physics department because I've been teaching there before. I know how it works, blah, blah, blah. That's understandable, right? So those things serve as, what do you call it now? Home ties for me. They can serve as home tie for me. So someone who is earning that big and you are coming back to that big job, yes, that's very possible. People do it. In fact, civil servants, those who are working in those big companies, they may even be part of those who are sponsoring the people. Okay, so that's really, really, really possible. So don't use your spouse as home tie if if they are coming to join you. Don't use your child as home tie. Say, oh, I have my child in Nigeria, they are not joining me. No, it will be in your record. They will tell your spouse when they come back later that your husband, your wife said you are not joining him. So that's that about home ties. Remember, you can always use, of course, you can also use properties. Okay, let's say you own your company and then you have landed properties, you have some of these talks, some of these things. Yes, you can use those things to talk about that too. You can talk about some of those things that you have. Remember, the viewer is just looking for a reasonable reason to believe that you are coming back to your country after your studies, that you are coming back to your country after your studies. Now, a follow-up question on spouse can be that, is your why is your spouse not joining you now? Why is your wife not joining you now? When I was asked that question, I said, we just had a little baby. At that time, we just had our first boy, Nathaniel. So I said, we have a little baby. He's just 3 months old. And then the stress of moving around while he's still very young, all those things. So they're not joining me now, but they should be joining me later. But not now. Not now. That's what I told the VO. And then the VO was satisfied with the response. Okay, that yes, they'll be joining me later. So those are some of the follow-up questions that can also come when it comes to spouse. Now, another question that can also come is about your responsibility there. What will you be doing in the United States? What are your responsibilities? You should know. Okay, for example, someone who is a TA, who will be a TA, you should know what your responsibility will be to teach students, to teach students, to help assist your professor, to do your research. If you're an RA and all those things, you should know. So when you're filling your DS160, you will also fill the address where you'll be staying there. So you should have an address in mind where you want to tell the viewer, even though they may not necessarily ask some of those things. But you should have in mind some of those the address where you want to stay. If it's a school address, maybe a contact person from the international office, you should put that at the back of your mind. They may not necessarily ask those questions. Okay. Now, let me jump back to proof of fund a bit. Gone are the days when they don't check the proof of fund you submit, where they don't try to confirm if it is genuine. Those who don't know, Oluwole simply means fake, forged documents and all that. So if your idea is to take Oluwole there and then hoping that it will work out, I'm sorry to disappoint you. They now check all these things to confirm how genuine they are. So don't take it there. It can earn you a ban for life. It can earn you a ban for 5 years, 10 years, or for life. Don't take Oluwole there. That's very, very, very important. I'll just briefly talk about F2, but let me see what other questions for F1 which they may ask. Just know about your course. Someone was denied because um, the VO asked questions about the course he's trying to study, basic questions. I think chemistry, or if I can remember, and the guy was denied. Okay, because he couldn't answer those questions. So just have ready-made answer for all those things about your course. Let me add a a tweet to this what do you call it now, visa, I mean, on visa interview. uh it's a long thread. I'll just add it to this space session so that you can see. Sorry to those who are on YouTube. uh, but if you come to Twitter, you'll be able to see it too. I will add it to the space. um, Interview answers. I'm trying to search for the tweet now so that you can have this in written form. Okay, good. Yeah, this is the tweet. Yeah. Okay. Let me just add it. Let me just talk about the questions I answered to. Okay, so let me see. One of the questions I was asked to, okay, how many school? Those are just basic questions. How many school gave you admission? If you wrote any proficiency exam, go along to the interview with um, with your results. I know someone, a friend of mine, who was denied because he didn't have his GRE results with him. And this is what happened. The VO asked him, um, did you write any proficiency exam? And he said, yes, I wrote GRE, I had this call of this and that. And the VO was requesting, okay, where's the proof? And this guy didn't go along with his GRE result. He didn't go along to the embassy with his GRE result. Thank God it was not when dates were scarce. Okay, the guy was applied immediately, and then he went to Abuja to do it, and he went aligned with his what do you call it, GRE result. And the first thing, the question the VO asked him the second time was that, why were you denied the first time? Like, what happened? The VO probably read his profile and saw that, why did you deny this guy, genuine guy? And then the guy said, yeah, because I was asked about my GRE result and I wasn't with my GRE result at that time. And then just one or two more questions, and then the VO granted him the visa. Okay, so very important with your results. Okay, go along with your result. And one question you can also be asked is this: what qualified you for the scholarship which you have? Okay, what qualified you for the scholarship which you have? That question can be tricky, but very straightforward. Just tell them about, still focus on your research, focus on your results, focus on the strength of your application. That's what you want to say. You want to say, oh, my application, my strength. If you had a first class, tell them about the first class. You are trying to paint yourself as being a student, being a very bright student and all that. So talk about, if you have a first class, talk about it. If you have a very robust research experience, talk about the research experience. What qualified you for the scholarship? So she started talking about research experience. Like, I have research experience with IT, I have research experience doing this, doing that, and then the admission committee saw this, and then they felt this and that. No, she talked about those as strengths. So talk about your strength. Remember, what you're trying to do is to paint yourself as competent as possible to the VO. You are trying to tell the VO that, see, guys, I'm very competent, I'm good with what I do, and then I'm a genuine student. I'm going to study there, nothing special, nothing else. That is what I'm going to do. So that's what you want to uh, say. Okay, I think when I was asked that question, let me see, what qualified you for DRA? I said the strength of my application did. I said I graduated with a first class for my BSc and also a distinction grade for my MSc. My robust teaching experience with students ranging from secondary school to university students is also a factor that was considered. Those were my own responses. I didn't have too much research experience then. Uh, so I could only talk about my grades and talk about the teaching experience. So let's switch quickly to F2. Let's say you are now the wife, the spouse, okay, of an F1 holder. Initially, I used to think the VOs have a bias against men applying for F2 visa, but these days I've seen more men receive F2 visas than I've seen in the past. So, and That's something I personally am happy for, that men are receiving F2 visas too, not just female, not just ladies. So F2 visas, basically, all you just want to go and tell the VO is that I have a good reason to mother or a father or a mother in the United States. Okay, that's basically what you want to go and tell the VO. And you want to also have something to prove that you your studies will be sustained. I mean, you're not studying, that your financings will be taken care of when you get there. You won't be a liability to the government, you won't be a liability to the community. So one of the questions that we may be asked is this: they will ask about your husband. What's your husband doing? What's your wife doing? You should know what your husband is doing. Okay, you should be able to say this is department. You should be able to talk generally like this is the research my wife is doing. You should be able to say things like that. You should be able to know where you are going to in the United States, like where, which state, which location, and all those stuff. You should be able to talk about that. Also, they will ask you who is funding this trip. Now, because before you get your F2, remember, those who went for F1, they had their own I-20. You going for F2, you will also have your own I-20. If you have a child has his own I-20, and everything will be listed the same way, expenses and all these things. Now, what will be included is in the expenses is the expenses for spouse. If you have a child, the expenses for child will be there too. So that means you will need more money on the other side, on the other column, so that you can have more funding, special funding, or they won't give special funding for the spouse. So most times you need an extra account statement to be able to augment what your husband has on ground or what your wife has on ground. So many times you need an extra account statement, and it can be what you have saved together, what you have saved. It can be funding from a family member too. Okay, at this point, it's not that critical like F1 itself, where you can't just say uncle and all those things. I think it's a bit, from experience, from things I've seen, I think it's a bit more relaxed at this time, not necessarily having your own account statement and all that. So you must be able to find an account statement to augment what your spouse as on ground. Very important. So one of the questions the VO will ask is, how do you guys intend to take care of yourself in terms of funding, in terms of finances? Yeah, basically you just want to talk about your husband has funding from the school, or your husband has this amount, and then you also have this amount saved, and then you are both hoping to come together. Now they ask you the question, what are you going to do in the United States? Of course, you are not going to study. Your answer basically should be your spouse who is currently doing his PhD or his master's at the University of XYZ. And then the basic purpose of joining him is so that the family can be together, can be one, because the distance has a toll on the relationship, or is having an effect on the relationship, blah, blah. You also want your son, if you have a child, or your child, to see his father or his mother, or whatever, so that you can grow together as a family. Now, family unit is very, very important here. Very, very important. So they understand the essence of family. So, and that's a very genuine reason. That's a solid reason. That's why the F2 visa was created in the first place. Is for family to be. F2 cannot work, like you can't gain income. Okay, so the VO may also ask you and say, okay, so what do you plan to be doing in the United States when you get there? What's your plan? Because the VO knows you can't work. So if you are someone who doesn't know that you can't work, and then you start saying, well, when I get to the United States, I hope to get a job and support my spouse financially so we can live a good life, that's cancelled already automatically. Okay, because you cannot work in the United States with an F2 visa. You cannot work. So the best answer to still give is that you are supporting your spouse. You want to support him emotionally, physically. In fact, that emotional support is very, 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 very important, because I've been a single father in the United States before, that my wife came to join me. So I understand before and after they are different. So emotional support is very, very important. I know that. So you want to say going to support emotionally and physically and all those stuff, just to make sure that he's succeeding in study, and of course to ensure that the family is not divided, the unity of the family is enhanced, the unity of the family is continued, and all those stuff. Those are the really, really good things you want to say. Those are the good things you want to say. And then if the VO says, will you also be studying in the United States? That's another question that can come. Your answer is no, you are not studying. You know why? Even if eventually you still after you apply to school and all those stuff, remember, so you still have to say that because F2s are not allowed to study. That's the real, even though there are clauses to that statement, but many people will follow that rigid statement. Okay. Many people will follow that rigid statement. So you're saying you are not studying. You are not studying. No, it's just to be with your husband. It's just to be with your wife. It's just to have a nice time together with your family. So the other follow-up question might just be, what do you do currently? For example, if you say, what do you do currently? Now, things can get a bit, and then you are working with, let's say, the government body, and then you are earning, let's say, something good, and then you say you are taking a leave from your job to stay with your husband, to be unemployed for 5 years, then you come back to your job. The first thing that comes to the VO is who gives leave for 5 years? Okay, remember they've been in Nigeria too. They've seen how things work, right? They know the unemployment rate and all those stuff. Things. So basically, in that situation, for example, I've seen people who are not even employed. They were full-time housewife when they applied for this interview, and it was smooth for them. Okay, so the question might be, will you be resigning your job? What happens to your job? Because they will ask about job. Of course, it's difficult to say that, oh, you have taken a leave from work, from a job for 5 years. It's difficult. Many people will not buy that. I know someone who has a leave from a job, a government job actually, for I think 4 years or so. It's a government job, things that happen in government in Nigeria. But it's difficult to just say that. So you can say you are resigning from job to be with your spouse. It's the family is as important as that. You just want to prove the family at this point in time. So you can say, oh, yes, I'm resigning from my job for the duration to be with my wife or my husband, so that we can build our family together, this and that. Okay. Of course, what would be your home tie? That's where the thing comes in. Your husband home tie is very strong. So your husband home tie will also be your home tie. Okay. Because they will say, okay, what happens afterwards when your husband finished studying? You say, oh, we are coming back to the country. You want to remember what your husband said during his own interview. So we are coming back to the country to establish our home, blah, 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 blah. Just join the unit together as a family. You are now one. Okay, the two of you have become one. So it's as a unit. You are working together as a unit. So you are coming back to the country to do this, do that. Working with your husband, that's just, or working with your wife to do this, do that. He or she already has your own home tie. So you are also doing it. You are working in line with whatever he or she has said. Okay, you are working in line with whatever child care. Okay. Now, even this is even for F1, those who are doing F1 interview to F1 or F2. One of the things that can come up is child care. They will ask you, what's your plan about child care? Okay. Of course, you should make your research and ensure that you know childcare centers around where you can put your child for a fee and all those things. Make your research on that, because it's very important. Very, very, very important. Sometimes they may ask, do you know what the fee, how much they pay, and the like? It's quite expensive. Everybody knows that in the US that is expensive. So they want to know what plan you have actually for that. All right, I've been speaking for 1 hour, so I will permit some questions now. Uh, you can request for the mic on Twitter. On YouTube, I'll be reading your questions and giving answers to it. Okay, so the first question, let me pick it from YouTube. Um, Okay, Bankole at the firm, you're saying thanks, sir, for what you do here. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. On Twitter, you can request for the mic too. If you have a question, you can request for the mic. Mercy, you're saying you're happy to be here. Good. Okay. You're saying I applied for EA last week. It was approved next day. I keep saying January 2024. It expired today. Well, I think you should check it well. you should check it well, DESI, because once you apply for emergency request, they open some specific days for you. So it shouldn't just be January 2024. And maybe a follow-up question I will ask you, DESI, is that is January 2024 what you were seeing initially before you made the emergency appointment? Okay, and what category in your response to that, DESI? What date were you seeing before January 2024? And then what category of visa are you applying for? Bro John, I see you. So you are saying, Bro John, is stuttering while speaking to the VO a disadvantage? Yes, yes, it's a disadvantage. If you are not someone who stutters, like has that as a defect, okay. If it's from anxiety, it can be a disadvantage, because one of the things that shows that you are not lying is your boldness. The way we see things in different countries, in US, one of the ways to prove confidence is looking into the shows that this person is not really confident, this person is afraid, this person does not know what he's saying. Of course, we've seen people stuttered through their interview and they still got the visa approved. The viewer probably just picked what he wanted in their response and then forgot about other things. But it's good just to be confident and speak straight and just straight away without stuttering and lies. Okay, let me pick one more question from YouTube before coming back to Twitter. So Adenike, you're saying I saw uploading West evaluation in the application start if the parliamentary review started. What should you do? Will it affect? So yeah, Adenike, I feel for you. This is someone who is applying to FSU. Yeah, I feel for you. I've been interacting with the folks who are doing the admission stuff for my own department. And then one thing I've heard from them is that this is a new university policy, a new graduate school policy for all students, or maybe all international students, maybe from Nigeria and maybe Ghana also, to do West evaluation. What I was told was that the evaluation, they will consider all the documents submitted by deadline, but they will not consider the fire. That won't end on the 15th, which is the normal deadline for submission of applications. So they just look at other documents without the transcript and wait for West to send the result to them. They will give that open space. But of course, I'm still pushing with them to say that, see, it takes months for those who are processing from Nigerian universities. It's not like other countries where they just get their transcripts straight away. And then this transcript, voila, in Nigeria is what we've been battling for a long time. My wife did West evaluation, and I know how long it took for a transcript to even leave UI and get to West, and then West getting back to UI for verification, how long it took for them to respond and all those things before we got transcripts sent to the school of our choice. So it's a problem. I'm still interfacing with them. I'm also interfacing with the graduate school itself. So I've not heard from the graduate school. I've heard from my own department, and I'm still trying to see if there's something they can do just to give Nigerians this consideration, because there's no way Nigerians can meet up. I'm so sure there's no way Nigerians can meet up with that January 15th deadline, even if they leave 1 month extra. Many Nigerians will still not meet up. And then this is what they just brought in after people have what do you call it now? After people have applied to the school. So that is the situation for now. If anyone has chosen FSU, I would advise you to look for another school to add to your list. Okay, don't bank on them. All right. It seems so the person I approved to ask his question just got bounced out of the speaker space. So you can still request if you have a question to ask. You can request for the mic. So let me still continue with questions on YouTube while we wait for anyone to request from Twitter. So, Messi, you're asking, what if the salary is small? Let me see. What if the salary is small? Should you change figure? Okay, so while filling your DS160, I don't think you should change figure, really. I don't think you should change figure. Your what do we call it? Home tie can be attached to what you plan to do after your studies. Okay. And remember, as I've explained, that this can go. This can go. Yeah, I wanted to mute your mic before SN, but nice you've muted it. This can go along with some of the things you have said about the job you do, of course, what you have done in the past and what you want to do in the future. Okay, so far there is a synchronization, there is a sync between all these things. They can stand as your own ties. So change the figure. Sometimes it can work to your advantage, sometimes it can work to your disadvantage. So just leave as it should, as it is, and then just hope for the best. That's what I believe. Okay. Let me allow SN to ask his question, then I will come back to YouTube to pick some more questions. SN, good evening. That should be evening in Ghana, I believe. Uh, so
All right, good evening, and thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I am very grateful. And now, are you hearing me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is the 2023, and I'm quite confused when exactly to start the application for the visa. Today I spoke with somebody said I should start instantly. The other time I spoke with somebody said I should start like next day. So I'm quite confused. I don't even actually know what to do, because I've gotten two admissions here, one with partial funding, the other one the consideration for funding is still on, and I'm still expecting more admissions because I applied to several schools and I'm expecting some full funding packages by the grace of God. So I'm just like, somebody was telling me that one of them that came around with the other that came with partial funding, I should not use it to apply for interview and all those things. But I was considering a lot of things like the POF and then all those things. So I'm quite confused. Please, can you help me? When is the most appropriate time to apply for my visa interview? Thank you very much, sir.
All right. So the rule, if I think I remember well, let me see, May, June, July, August. The rule, if I remember well, is that you cannot appear for an interview for F1 until it is at least 90 days to your start date. Okay. Um, until it is at least 90 days to your start date. Of course, if you are still waiting for a fully funded offer, number one, I would say you should wait. Number can say you can start, because now that there are issues of interview dates being scarce and all these things, you can start filling your DS 160 form, okay, so that you can use that. You can secure. In fact, you don't even need DS. Let me, if I remember, what do you need exactly DS 160 form to secure interview date? You can, yeah, you need. What you just need to do is that you can change DS 160 form and change it on the profile, where you secure a date. That's the only reason why I would say you should start now. But you don't choose an interview date which is greater than uh, 90 days from your start date. So, but interestingly, again, since this COVID era, I've seen people appear for interview when it's even like 120 days to their start date, like 4 months to their start date, 5 months to their start date, and they got the visa. I'm not sure if there's really considered that again. I'm not sure, because after this COVID, everything is just scattered around. But since you are still waiting for the full funding, you still want the full funding, I would say wait for the full funding while trying to secure an interview date. Okay. And then
Okay.
if you think you have money enough for the partial funding, yeah, go for it. But don't put in the documents of a school you will not go to. Okay. So you can actually get an interview date without paying service fee yet. That's the point.
Okay.
Without paying
Okay.
service fee yet.
Okay. Sorry. Pardon my
Yeah.
inquisitiveness. In that case, how will I access form to fill and then keep it waiting until I get a visa interview opportunity?
How will you access which
Please,
form?
the DS form that you said.
Oh, just online. Just if you type USDS 160 form online, it should show you through the link, and then just fill what
Okay.
you know by now. Now, for the university, if you don't know, still leave it blank. You are not submitting it yet. Okay, it's just for you to start filling. you are not submitting yet. So you can use that. You will have that link to the DS-160 form, which you can use on the website to secure interview dates. I've forgotten the name of the website again. Did I forget? I've used it so many times. So you just link it there, but you don't submit the DS-160 yet until you know the exact university you want to apply for. Then apply for a date with that. So, but if you will have to apply for emergency request, you won't be able to do that. That will be the only problem because you don't know the school you want to go for. You probably don't have the I-20 yet, and you've not paid service fee. Those are the things you will need to request for emergency dates. Okay, but the main thing I see here is just you getting an interview date for now. Uh, that's the main thing. Did I answer your question?
Very well. Thank you very much. I am very grateful. Thank you.
You are very much welcome. All right, let me pick one or two questions from YouTube again before coming back to okay, Matt Blend, you are saying, good evening, Samuel. I need to ask about the Futa FAMU collaboration. You've spoken about it quite well on Twitter. If I have 60% of the tuition, what do you think is possible? I work to pay the rest. Okay, so for those who don't know what is asking about, let me just quickly explain quickly. Cyril, you can mute your mic, please, so that we don't disturb others. So what is the question Matt is asking here on YouTube is this. Now, I've spoken about FUTA FAMU collaboration before. FUTA is a school in Nigeria, and FAMU is a school here in the US. There's a collaboration between FUTA and FAMU. FAMU is here in Florida, here in Tallahassee. That's where my wife attends. So there's a collaboration between FUTA and FAMU such that those who are in third year, I think, in FAMU can come to FAMU, sorry, those who are third year in FUTA in Nigeria can come here to FAMU in Florida to complete their final year, and then they get a degree from both FUTA and FAMU. Like it's a collaboration, and I've seen many of those students here. And what they do eventually is um, many of them go on to do master's degree, many of them go on to do PhD and graduate. Many of them are working already. I know some who are already working in different places, but they came in as a final year student. Okay. Basically, what the embassy will want to see is that this person has enough money to cover himself, tuition, and all those stuff. So he is asking, if you have 60% of the tuition, do you think it's possible you work to pay the rest? Let me say this first, that you don't pay the tuition at once. Um, I'll just say what I've seen from experiences of people. You don't pay the tuition at once. People pay it gradually. People pay per semester, of course. Even per semester, I think you can get an installment plan that you pay. Okay, people do that, and I've seen people, because you have 20 hours to work. You can work for 20 hours. I've seen people work within 20 hours, and then they raise money. I don't know what they do. They use the money for. I'm just talking about what I've seen. Okay, they work in that 20 hours. Some do, but some do different kind of jobs just to raise money for themselves. So is it enough to cover the 40%? I'm not sure, but I think the installment payment can work in your favor since you already have the 60% of the tuition on ground. Paying installment can work in your favor, and who knows, before you finish paying for a semester, the next semester, the money can come, and then maybe whatever. But I'm not sure if working for 20 hours per week will pay the remaining 40%. But I'm just talking about what I've seen people do, installment payment, and they are working. If I have a friend who was working at the time and then he got funding, he stopped working because he got full funding from his department eventually, and all the stuff from FAMU too. So that is what I think I know. But I think you stand a good chance if you already have 60% on ground. You just need to prove. Remember, the main thing that will determine all this is at the embassy, if you can prove to them that you have money to cover yourself. Remember all the stories I've been saying before now. You want to be able to prove that you have the funding to cover that final year, that 1 year you have to spend there, 1 year or plus, as the case may be. I hope I answered your question, Matt. Okay, Messi, after this question from YouTube, I will come back to Twitter to receive your question. Messi, you are asking, what if you are a secondary school teacher and the pay is low? How do you show home ties? Okay, I think I've said this severally during this space session that you can use your future goals as home ties. Okay, that's one of the things you can do. If you have, okay, even if you don't have any landed documents and whatever, your future goals can be your home ties. And remember, they will believe your future ties because of your history, because of what you've done, what you've been doing, or what you currently do. They will believe. Someone who is a school teacher, it's easy to say you want to be a professor. It's easy to aspire. If you're a secondary school teacher, many of us aspire to be professors, to be university lecturers, right? And going for PhD, for masters is a step towards that direction. So that can be your own tie, your passion for your country, your passion for the course you do, because you want to replicate it in your school, your alma mater, as the case may be. All right, I hope that answers your question, Messi. All right, Cyril, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Good evening. I actually just joined the Twitter space, so I don't know if you've talked about what I want to ask before.
Okay.
Now the point is I recently got admission to University of Alabama, and it doesn't come with funding at all. And I've sent series of mail. I just keep getting replies that my course that they don't offer funding for MSc or masters actually. So I don't know. I actually don't know the next thing because I want to like just risk it and try the normal what they call pool of fund that everyone used to like do and everything. But then before I do it, I just want to like seek experts advice and all. So actually, I'm actually still waiting for other schools because the goal is to go for fall 2023. I'm actually waiting for Georgia State University, Clemson University, and so many other schools. I even want to apply for Bowling Green. But then since I've gotten this admission, I've secured this admission already. I want to like know if it is possible to just push this one and eventually I can get a visa with it.
Okay, so if you've seen my tweets before now, you will know my disposition to all those who use POF as business. I don't advise it personally because even if you get it, the real money, where do you want to get it from to pay the tuition? Okay, that's the main thing with the real money. That's what I'm concerned about. If you cannot fund yourself, and the school gives you admission without funding, I just reject it. For me, what I do is I leave it open. When I got one from a school, they didn't fund me. I left it open. I deferred it, and then when they didn't give me funding the other year, I went with another school that funded me. Okay, so don't be desperate. Don't let those who deal with POF, who are POF merchants, play on your desperation. Don't let them. They will just get your money. Eventually, you won't get a visa. That's what that will happen. Or even if you get a visa, you now say, okay, how do I look for the money to pay school fees? Then you become stranded in a strange land, and then you are not able to go to school. You fall out of status because you can't pay tuition, and then they report your name to the maybe Department of Homeland and blah blah, and then they start searching for you around, and then you start running from pillar to post, and then you won't even post online. You that you have shared snow picture before. You won't be able to even say pin online now. You'll be running away. You'll be going underground and all those stuff. You don't want to fall into that situation. Okay. So if you don't have the funds and the school has offered you funding, don't receive it. I mean, has not offered you funding, rather, don't receive it. If they have petitioned them to give you funding and they don't receive it. Another option is for you to ask if you can upgrade your application to a PhD, because you said they don't have funding for masters. So meaning they probably have for PhD. Ask if you can upgrade your application for a PhD. If you really love your course and you think you can do a 5-year, 4-year PhD program, then go for it. I mean, at the end of it, it will all be worth it. And I see, well, many schools want someone, people who are coming to PhD, they want someone who can stay for the duration of the program. Many of us are not happy. Like even me as a student, I'm not happy when a student, not that I'm not happy, like I'm happy for the student, but I feel somehow when a student comes in for PhD and then didn't finish the PhD, just goes with a master's degree and like, oh, this should be a space that could have been won by someone else. That's what I'm thinking in my head. But of course, things happen and some people are not able to finish and all those stuff. So ask them if you can still upgrade your application to a PhD program, so that they can give you that funding, and you can use it and come and you do a PhD. It's just double the time. Before you blink your eyes, 4 year, 5 years is gone already, and you have your PhD, and that would be a good situation. But if you can't, if you just want the masters, then still look out for other schools. Wait for those schools that will give you funding. It's very, very funding is very important.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just to be very, very clear,
Yeah.
it's either I'm funding myself or I get a funded school, a school I will be getting funding from.
Exactly.
And yeah, one thing I want to ask, even if it is not, because something I've gotten to realize is most people that used to like get fully funded scholarship, it is people that used to like go for risk. Most of them, they are going for research courses. Mine is not research courses. I'm actually studying. I don't know if computer science is actually fully research course, because I'm applying for computer science, and it is I think it is auto STEM, STEM, but I don't know if it is research. What if I don't get a fully funded scholarship, even if it is partial, even like 60%, 70%? Can I still like apply with that?
Yeah, if you get 60%, 70%, yeah, you can also to get, or like you can have folks get support for the remaining 30%, right? If you have that. Again, talking about full funding or not. Now, I know a lot of people in computer science who are full funding. Of course, taught masters may not have as much funding, or taught program without research may not have as much funding as research, because you have organizations that are funding research, NSF. Let's say NSF funding now, they don't give money to someone who is just learning a course, who is not just learning, who is not doing research. The one is for research, and then they fund students who are doing research. Okay, so you have more of that compared to those who are not in non-thesis courses and all those stuff. Okay, so I understand that if you want to go into the research and do research, then you can start applying in that direction too. Right, you wrote SOP, you wrote all those things. If you want to go into a thesis program, talk to the graduate coordinator of that department. That can you do that switch from non-thesis program to thesis program and all those things? Then I think it can work for you. It can work for you, especially if there's funding for those who are in the thesis program for your field. My own. Why stay where there won't be funding when you can go to a place where there's funding? Why stay where there's no funding? That's my own philosophy. I'd rather go for the funding. If it's thesis, if you are thinking, oh, it's struggle, it's hard, well, anything can be hard, anything can be easy, depending on how you see it. Those who are doing those thesis programs, they don't have two heads, they have one head, just like you. I'm doing the thesis program and doing research. It does not mean I'm smarter than you. Sometimes some of us who are even doing thesis program, we are praying that we finish coursework as soon as possible so that we can focus on research, because we seem to enjoy the research more. Okay, so it will not be a problem for you. And computer science, of course, lots of funding available for computer science. I know a lot of people doing computer science who are getting funded.
I mean, masters, not PhD.
Yeah, even at the master's level. Yeah, I know someone at the master's level. What he did was data. What again?
Data analysis.
I think he even did data analytics or something. Or business analytics. I think data analysis, and then it was funded. Where he did it was funded. Okay, so.
All right. Sorry, last question. Sorry, do you have idea of schools that like offers funding for computer science at the master's level? Probably 2 or 3, so I can just start working towards applying to those schools.
Okay, number one, you will do a search by yourself, which is a serious search. Number two, I've shared.
And I have a GRE score actually. I did GRE.
Oh, good. So go for it. I shared, if you search my Twitter page, I've shared schools offering computer science courses before. You have to make a search. If you can't find that one, I've also shared how to search for schools. I demonstrated with different courses. I demonstrated with religion, demonstrated with courses that people don't think as funding. Okay. So if you can search, of course, a good way to search for it is just go to my YouTube page, and then you will be able to find all those things there. My YouTube page is on my profile on my link, so you'll be able to see it. You will see different how to search for schools. That's a very important video, because I believe everyone should know how to search for schools. You shouldn't be limited to. I shared 10 schools that offer computer science, right? but you shouldn't be limited to just 10 schools when you can search for over 500 schools yourself. Okay, so, and I tell people the hard work in this thing is searching for school yourself. That's the big work, that's the hard work. And I believe people should do it themselves. But of course, I have 10 schools which I've shared before that offer courses in computer science. You can look for it on my page. Then look for that YouTube video where I taught about how to search for schools by yourself. I did different demonstrations with different courses. You may be lucky I used the course you are even looking for as a demonstration, but I'm not sure. So search for it. You will not get lost. You will not. All right, Kemzi, before I pick you, let me pick two questions from those asking questions on YouTube. Let me see. Okay. Additional is asking here, is Masters in Human Development and Family Studies a good course for international students? I don't know, really. I don't know. So you just have to be the one that knows what is good for you. I don't know, really. Really, I don't know. Said, you're asking for F2 visa, can the F2 visa for the F2 visa, can the spouse say she wants to join, she just want to stay for a month with the husband so as to support him during the transition period and return to parent country? That's dicey, Said. I don't know what to say. I've seen folks, someone who got a F2 visa saying she will just spend few months with the husband. But usually I just tell people, if you want to stay with your spouse for the whole duration, just say you want to stay with the spouse for the whole duration. It's not a crime, right? You come back together. And then with the way you have structured your question again, Said, what you meant now is that the wife is following the husband to the one. If I'm the VO, what I'll be thinking is this. Remember, VOs are smart, VOs are human beings, they are objective, they can be subjective at times too. They are thinking what is best, what is the ideal, what should happen. I'll be thinking, this is you, this is your wife in front of me, applying for F1 and F2 visa. Number one, I want to be sure you guys have the funding to take care of yourselves. Okay. Number two, we are now saying, oh, this is my wife. She just want to support me during the transition. So she will stay for 1 month. And when I'm returning back to the country, she will come back and stay with me. For me, I'm thinking, this is the way I will be thinking. VOs can think differently. Different VOs can think differently. But this is where I probably will be thinking, especially when I know that we are very strict in this situation. Like, you don't need another person to help you in the transition program. When you want to transition, we want to get settled. I'll be thinking it's even easier for you as a man, just one person to just settle down easily. When you become two, settling down becomes more difficult. The type of apartment you want to live in, you will not have the options that those who are single have. Okay, you won't be able to stay in shared apartment and all those things. You will have different. It's difficult. Okay, more difficult with two people than just one person. That's the way I'll be thinking. And I probably may deny your wife if I'm thinking, standing in the position of a VO, and I'm thinking, no, I'm thinking, no, why should she follow if it's just to stay for 1 month and come back and all those stuff? So transitioning may not be the best idea, best thing to say. Okay. But of course, I've seen people who got it and they said, all they said was that they want to stay with the spouse for a few months, maybe 3 months or 5 months, so that they can return to their job. Okay, and they got it. And then the spouse can always travel to meet the husband whenever they want. I've seen those who got it in that manner. So that's what I think, Said. But of course, some people may think differently. Different views will think differently depending on mode, blah, blah, different things. Okay. Let me pick one more question before I come to Kemzi for your question from YouTube. So, Ogechuku, you are asking, good afternoon. Please, I have been trying to reach you regarding changing from F2 to F1 in Mexico. Okay, yes, I know few folks who went to Mexico to do standing for interview for F1 visas and they got it. Yeah, so if you are trying to reach me, where are you trying to reach me? Twitter, Gmail, wherever, just send me. If it's on Twitter, just tag me. Just under a tweet, just say you have sent a DM, just tag me so I will quickly see it. But of course, I've seen people who went to Mexico from US to do standing for F1 interview, and then they came back to the US because sometimes it's a long via to go and stand in for interview and then come back to the United States. It's a long trip, it's a long journey where you can just quickly go to Mexico quickly with your F2 visa still active. You can enter Mexico with your F2 visa still active. You can enter Mexico and then do the interview and come back to the United States. Just one straight, well, depending on where you are, just one straight flight from the United States to Mexico, a few hours, and then you are done. Okay, so yeah, you can message me if you want to. And again, I don't think they do have that pressure of interview dates in Mexico as much as we have in Nigeria. So people in Nigeria have not even gotten interview date now, and you are in the US, you add to the pressure. You battling them with interview dates too. So I know it's difficult, and Mexico might seem a better option for you to get it. So yeah, let's discuss. Let's talk.
All right. Hi, Sam. Hello, everyone.
Yeah,
can you
good
hear me
evening.
now, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Okay. Good evening, Sam. Thank you. Thank you for this space. One of the concerns I mostly have when I saw this space, or I think somebody posted something like this, was I hope he's not just going to come and start talking, and then the consulate and the embassy, they are here, so that if it's not well done, it can cause issues for us later. But I'm really the way you have approached it and trying to show the way on how to approach these things.
Yeah.
So my question, I recently received an offer for a fully funded at University of Florida. However, my national officer has said my I-20 would not be ready till February because I brought my program forward to summer. Because of the difficulty in getting interview dates, I joined later on. Well, I missed the part where you're talking about how someone can even start trying to get interview dates before getting the I-20. Now, for my own case, I already have an offer which I've accepted. I'm just waiting for I-20. Now, I don't want to wait up till that time before I start the whole process because it is very close. Summer resumes May. I have to resume by May.
And they want to give you your I-20 for April?
For February. And I
okay.
think it's too close. For me, it's too close. They also, the officer said early January or February to March. But with the tone of his mail, it sounded a lot like March. Well, it sounded a lot like February. So I think February, March, April, May, I think it's too short. But that's my own opinion, though. Because I follow a lot of threads and I see people saying they're trying to get it. And you know how it is when you follow go on Erla.
Yeah.
You know how it is, all the dates and the partner cutting, the people are trying to expedite appointments. So my own focus now is how can I get, knowing that the agent is sure, knowing I already know I'm attending University of Florida, I'm trying to now see how can I just start the whole thing, without an I-20. Is that possible?
So
and I just know, okay, when the I-20 comes, just go.
Yeah, so this is what I probably would advise, to still push to get it earlier. Now, holidays for many schools start today, and then many will resume January.
Yeah.
So try to still push if you can get it early, because even if you start on the website trying to push get dates, and you see dates like January 2024 and all those stuff, the problem you will have is you cannot request for emergency dates without your I-20 and your proof of service fee. Okay, so you cannot request for emergency date because most likely, with the way the dates are, most likely we want to request for emergency date, which they grant to students. But without your I-20, without the proof of your service fee payment, you cannot request for emergency date. That will be the problem. So I will advise you
Okay.
explain the situation to them, explain the Nigerian situation that it's difficult to get interview dates in Nigeria, and it's what you have to do well ahead of time. It's what you have to do well ahead of time. So let them know what the situation is, that you really need the I-20 as soon as possible so you can kickstart the process as soon as possible. It's very, very important.
Okay. But do you think if I'm able to get it January, do you think it's realistic to be able to meet up with May?
I believe you should
Because
still.
right now,
Yeah,
okay.
continue. Because right now
I had mailed the international advisor, and I tried to explain the situation of how difficult it is to get dates, but he was saying they are processing with since it's summer, they are processing those either early January or February to March, and then there's no exception. It was really keen on that no exception. So I was like, oh, let me accept my fate. I mailed to the departmental advisor. Graduate coordinator, graduate advisor, something like that.
Yeah.
She said it's not in our hands. That it's that such requests should be made to the international office, which I have previously made. So my last option is actually to mail my own advisor. Which if I mail my advisor, what's going to tell me is he's going to follow up with it, which I know he will follow up. But looking at this is already holidays, you do not want to also try to push, especially when.
Yeah.
So I just held back a bit today, and I said, okay, first in January, I would put pressure and see how that is.
And of course,
how that can be made.
Let your advisor also know what the progress is. Okay, many of the advisors have international students coming in, and they know that many people are having visa issues and all those stuff. So let your advisor know what the progress is too, so that he or she can know if there's anything he can do. And of course, yes, if it's January, I think you should still be able to meet up. You'll be able to request for emergency request. And in fact, you cannot make a request for emergency date. Is it, I hope I won't say anything wrong now. Is it until it's 30 days or 60 days before the start date of your program? Okay, if I can remember well, I'm not sure. So it will still so it will still be within that date. Okay. It should still be within that day, but you can just start doing all those other things on ground. Since you know the school you are going to, you can start filling your DS-160 form. You won't submit yet because you don't have the I-20 yet. I love people having the I-20 and they have paid service fee before submitting and all those stuff. You can be doing all those ones on the side, and then be looking at dates showing up and all those things until you are. But of course, before you start looking at dates showing up, that means you must have paid for the visa, paid the visa fee, and you are sure that you really want to do the interview.
Okay.
Yeah. Another option is this: if things are getting late a bit, you can ask if it's possible to defy till fall. I mean, summer and fall. The difference is just how many months? 3 months or so. So you can ask if you can defy to fall, and you will still have your funding, as it is.
Yes, that's another option. In fact, my conversation was actually for fall, but I thought of it. What am I still doing here? I just told my advisor, please, let's take it to summer. So
because many times again, the start date for many international students is actually fall. Okay. Many, especially if it's a PhD, for example, or if it's schools, many schools don't do coursework for graduate students in summer. Many schools. Okay. In my school, for example, we don't do. There are some schools that do coursework in summer. That graduate students do coursework in summer, but for many schools, it starts in fall.
Okay, thank you. Just to add, right, maybe just as an encouragement to every other person on this call, I had applied this year, but I didn't get funding. I applied to FSU. I think I even mailed you some.
Yeah.
No, I sent you a message on Twitter early this year. I got FSU. If you check my things, I sent you a message early this year.
I'll check it.
On Twitter.
Did I respond? Oh, okay.
No, you didn't. I didn't get funding. I got there's 2 schools I didn't get funding, and I was just jumping up and down trying to see what I can do. I couldn't get any, and I did start my process early because I started around January. I didn't get, I applied for masters, but I did not get funding. However, I just took that as well. Let me move forward. Let me shoot for the upper year. So I started really early this time, really early, like September. So what I did was I went through the contacting your grad advisor as the first step of the process, right? So I think that was what just did it for me, because I contacted the advisor and indicated my interest, and that was just it. The process is going to fund. So just as an encouragement, I think it's one way that works really well in getting funding for schools. And UF is a very great school. So I think we should just keep on. Like I said, I think there was a guy before me that was talking about getting funding for computer science, and I think it's very possible. I think he just needs to do research, like you said.
Yeah.
There are funded programs for computer science in the US. I've seen a lot of people. In fact, most of the persons that I see post transcript on computer science, some of the time they are funded.
Yeah.
I just think you need to do research and you'll get it.
Yeah.
So that's just my bit. But please, I would follow you up again on Twitter.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I would appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. No, there are a lot of DMs, so many times those who tag me, oh, there's a question for you. I just click on their name, their profile, just go into message straight away. So you can just keep me posted. Yeah. All right. So let me quickly pick one question from YouTube before coming back to Twitter for Chinaza. Will be the next. But let me pick one or two questions from YouTube. So Joseph, you're asking, when they ask you why this school, what should be the answer? I think I've answered the questions multiple times during the course of this program. Why did you choose the school? The research facilities, right? They match your research interests. The professors, the research they do, you are interested in it. They have what you need to succeed as a graduate student. Talking around the research facilities, and this is for you to be able to also show yourself to be a serious student, a serious researcher, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so answer your question. Let your answer be around that. That's what I believe. Why did you choose the school? Answer it in that light. It's very important. Okay, but you can go through this video again after the whole thing and listen to those specific times where I talked about why this school. I gave my response example of why I chose FSU. I talked about the magnetic lab and all those things that they have, all those beautiful facilities that they have there. That's one of the things you can say. All right, Chinasa, you have the floor. You can ask your question. Chinasa, you have the floor. You can ask your question. Okay, Chinasa is not ready. Ijaja Junior, you can ask your question.
Hello, Sammy. I am ready. I'm ready.
Oh, okay, Chinasa, you're ready. All right.
Yes. Please, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for all you've been doing. I so much love the space. Quickly, I just want to ask because during the time I started applying, I practically stayed away from schools that requested for English proficiency, and there's only one of the schools that was insisted, and that's Cornell University. But along the line, they also exempted Nigerian students from English proficiency. And I want to ask, is it compulsory while going for interview that one international student should always come with proficiency test or something like that?
Sorry.
I've been teaching for the past time.
Sorry, is it compulsory that what?
Is it compulsory that one, as an international student, will come for visa interviews with...
with their result for proficiency?
Yes.
Okay. So my general advice is this: if you have written any proficiency exam, go along with the result, okay? Because some of the questions you may ask is, okay, did you write any proficiency test of the proficiency exam? If you say yes, you'll need to have something to back it up to really say, oh, indeed, I wrote a proficiency exam, okay? But if you didn't write it, there's no need. If the school exempted Nigerians, exempted you, then that means you don't need it. then you don't need to go along with it if you didn't write it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You're very much welcome. Now, the example of my friend I gave, he wrote GRE, right? But the VO asked him, did you write any proficiency exam? And he said, yes, I wrote GRE. And the VO said, yeah, what's your proof? Where's your proof? And he didn't go along with the results. And the VO denied him. And he had to apply for another visa interview, and went along with the result of the proficiency test. And then it showed, and the other VO asked, okay, why were you denied the first time? The guy said, well, I was asked question about proficiency exam, and I wasn't with my result when I was denied, and then now I'm with it. And then a few more questions, and then it was approved. So it's in that situation, like where you asked, did you say yes or no, and all those things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let me pick another question from YouTube. Okay, Ogechukwu, so reach out to me via Twitter, or comment on that video you are talking about, Ogechukwu. I will see you and I will respond to you personally there. So Ogechukwu, you are watching from YouTube, comment on that particular video you are talking about, and then I will see you and then I will respond to you personally there. All right, Samuel, my namesake here. Okay. So Samuel is saying here that just to let me know that in civil and public service in Nigeria, you have the opportunity of applying for study leave for up to 5 years according to public service rule. Okay, so you remember when I was talking initially, I was doubting the 5 year or 2 year when you say you have leave for all this and that. So it's possible. So Samuel is saying it that according to public service rule in Nigeria, you can have a study leave for up to 5 years. But just know that when you are going for an interview and then you want to tell the VO that you have a study leave, have something to prove that you indeed have the study leave. That's my own. That's always been my position. Anything you want to say, be able to prove it. Be able to prove it. You say you have an admission. Where's the proof? You have your I-20. You say you've paid for I-20. Where's the proof? You have the proof of payment. You say you paid for visa fee. You must have the proof. You said you have this and that proof. You are married. Where's the proof? You have your marriage certificate. You say you are just have the proof. Okay, that is very, very, very important. That's very, very important. Let me quickly answer this question from Adenike before I come back to Twitter. Still on YouTube, Adenike said, can age affect visa interview someone like 40 years and above for PhD? Personally, I don't think so. Okay, if you know what you've been doing, your gap years, you can talk about it well. Years before that time, talk about it well. I know those who are 40 years above and they are doing PhD. Okay, so I don't think that should be a problem. I don't think that should be a problem. All right, Ijaja, you can unmute yourself. You have the floor.
All right. Thank you so much, Oga Samuel, for this space. I really appreciate it. Mine is just a question, though it's not going on the interview, actually.
All right.
I'm sorry for the aggression. I recently graduated from school, though I have a very good result of 2-1 anyway. It's not first class.
Mm-hmm.
But I studied a research course, biochemistry.
All right.
And I have an interest of studying abroad. And from people who I got information from, for those who have been traveling outside using the scholarship, some of them told me that they have research publications, and some of them write proficiency courses and all of that. So for me, I'm actively in my youth service, but I don't have much money to be doing publication and all of that. So I'm asking, is there a way that is less expensive and also good for me to lay hand and then make myself get the opportunity?
So I've said it many times, that it's not compulsory you have publications before you apply for a PhD. It's not compulsory. It's a good thing. It helps your profile, but it's not compulsory. Okay. Your research experience is good enough. Your research experience will count for you. What you have done before is going to count for you. If you don't have publications, fine. Just apply with what you have, okay? And they're talking about proficiency exams. Presently, not all schools are requesting for the proficiency exams, GRE, and all those stuff. Since COVID-19, many schools have been waiving the GRE requirement. However, my advice is that if you search for schools offering your course and then you can't find anyone to exempt you from GRE, it's good to probably just write the exam. Um, but yeah, know that it's not compulsory to have publications before you are admitted. It's good to have those publications, but I mean, many people don't have it. So if you have it, it's a plus for you. It adds to your profile. It makes your profile stronger. That's true. But there are many people without publication who are doing PhD. Like I didn't have any single publication when I came in for the program. My wife didn't have any single publication. Did she? I will ask her. So I think they were working on a paper at the time in our school. So it's not compulsory, basically. That's just the point. And there are very many schools doing biochemistry and biochemistry. Lots of funding available for you, my brother. Lots of funding in chemistry and biochemistry in the US. Lots of schools with arm rubber funding. You know what I mean by arm rubber funding. So
That is lovely to hear.
so if you search my profile, if you search some of my past tweets, just type chemistry, you will see a lot of schools pop out for you. I think there's one tweet I had, one thread I had, maybe 20 schools offering funding for chemistry and biochemistry. I have different tweets like that highlighting fundings available for chemistry and biochemistry actually. So look through that.
Oh, it's okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You are very much welcome. All right, let me pick more questions on. It seems you two people are asking questions. Wow, it's a lot. All right, Femi, you're asking, hello, Mr. Sam, as a Nigerian UK applying for F1 visa, the occupation here is teaching. During my interview, where do you suggest I claim as my home tie? Can I say I'd come back to UK or Nigeria? If you have your what do you call it, PR in UK already, that's home for you too. So with either way, and you're applying from UK, you have your PR in UK, then UK is home to you. So you can say UK. If that's what you currently do in UK, you are living in UK, and then you have your PR, you have everything settled, you can say UK. And if you want to go back to Nigeria, of course, you can say you want to go to Nigeria. But yeah, anywhere you have your PR, that's home for you. But if you are a student in UK, okay, if you are a student in UK, then UK is not home for you because you are on a non-immigrant visa. So your home is still Nigeria. I hope that clarifies that. I believe that's what should be. I've seen Nigerians apply for F1 visa from different countries. I have a friend who applied from Germany, and then they got it. I have from different places Nigerians have applied for F1 visa before. So it depends, is it home for you or not home for you? That's just the basic thing. All right. Sadil, you say, oh, hi Samuel, I'm from Sierra Leone. What do you say if asked what qualifies you for this scholarship? If your undergraduate degree is not honors, should you talk instead of your work experience? Yes, Sadi, you can talk about your work experience. You can talk about your research experience. You can talk about anything you think stands you out. Those are basic things that you see right in your statement of purpose. Basic things that stood you out in your statement of purpose. Okay, so you can talk about that. So yes, your work experience, you can talk about it. It doesn't have to be academics alone. It doesn't have to be how beautiful your grades are. Okay, for me, I had research experience, yeah, but I couldn't talk about it much. I don't know because of maybe what I did initially. I had a very good grade. I had a very good grade, so I had to just talk about it, just to flaunt myself, just to show them that this guy standing in front of you is an exceptional student, and that's what you want to say too. That this lady standing in front of you is exceptional. Is exceptional. So focus on your strengths. You have to think about it. Where is your area of strength? Where is your strength? Is it in terms of research, in terms of work, in terms of whatever? Focus on that strength. And whatever you think. In fact, even if you wrote GRE, you wrote proficiency exam, and you had very high scores, those who are having 320, 320, someone sent me his GRE score recently. He had 328 or something, 328 out of 340. That's massive, amazing. So focus on those things, talk about them. They are very important. If you have those good grades, that's your talking point. That's your selling point. I usually tell people who go for interview when I do mock with them, I say, talk about I ask them, where is your selling point? What's your selling point? What about you do you think is sellable? You want to focus on those things. As those questions come, push it to your selling point, those things that make you stand out. That's what you want to do. Okay, yes, so you can talk about your work experience related to what you're applying for. Okay, that's what you want to do, Sadi. Okay, bro, John, you are saying, is it compulsory you have a history of living in Nigeria before applying? Or better still, with someone who has a history of living in Nigeria stand a better chance of visa approval? Not necessarily, actually. Not necessarily. Uh, I didn't have any history of living in Nigeria before applying, and I know many people didn't have. And I know someone, in fact, the guy just returned from Italy, I think, that time, and then he went for F1 interview in Nigeria, then in Lagos, and he had funding. It was denied the first time. So I don't really think that history, maybe it has a role to play to say, yeah, you've been going back and coming in, but I think what happens on the interview days matters more. If I know someone who just yesterday, yeah, I was denied a visa, and he had history of living in Nigeria. He's been to the US, been to UK, been to Japan, been to different countries, and he was denied his visa. Being for a student, yeah, was denied a student visa. Okay, so it can not necessarily. I remember before applying for US visa, then some people were advising me, oh, go to Cotonou, let them stamp your passport, go to Togo, go to this and that. I said, I beg me, I'm not a travel freak. I'm not a travel freak. We just go with my Virgin passports and then they will stamp it. And yeah, and they stamped it. Okay. So, and then there is someone who has been to like 6, 7, 8 countries and it was denied. So just yesterday. So I don't really think maybe it has a better chance of saying, oh, this guy has been traveling and coming in. Maybe it says to the viewer that this guy has what it takes. He has the money, finances. Yeah, but aside that, I think what happens during the interview and your DS-160 form, which you filled, still has a lot to say. Okay, so you're asking again, does having a new passport from Nigeria serve as a disadvantage? 4-month-old pastor. No, I don't think so. 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 Okay, Ogechukwu, this is what you should do, Ogechukwu. You're trying to reach me directly. Make it on Twitter, make a comment on one of my posts, one of my tweets, any recent tweet, and tell me that you have a message for me in DM. Then we will get I will get to you. Okay, Chuku, let's do that. Then we'll be able to communicate better, and then maybe through whichever means, WhatsApp, email, we'll be able to communicate better. So do that, Ogechuku, and then I'll get in contact with you. Just comment on one of my tweets. Say you have left a message for me in DM. After this session, I should be able to reach out to you. Okay, Sadi, you are saying, can you enter Canada with F1 or F2 visa? I don't believe so. You have to apply for Canadian visa to enter Canada. You have to apply for that. But I think you can enter Mexico with your F visas actually, but not Canada. You have to apply for their visa, their visiting visa. But again, it becomes easier actually. Once you have your F1, F2 visa, it becomes easier. It becomes easier, especially when it is still active. Okay, it becomes easier to get the Canadian visa. It becomes easier. Okay, I'm actually asking, if someone living in the UK applies from there and not Nigeria, and the person has full funding, how can such person prove home ties? So again, it still boils down to what you are planning to do eventually. Like how I responded to someone earlier, it still boils to the fact that, do you have a PR in UK? If you don't have a PR in UK, UK is not home to you, so it will be Nigeria for you. If what you are doing in UK is just temporarily, maybe you are a student, maybe you just finished MSc in the UK, and then you want to switch to US for your PhD. So all you just need to do is to talk about Nigeria, like how you are going back to Nigeria to change this, to change that. If you have PR, permanent residence in UK, then you can use UK as your home, because permanent residence basically means that's your home, right? So you can use that, talk about your plans, future goals, and all those things, what you want to do after your study. But just make sure you are focusing on the fact that you are leaving the United States after your studies. You are leaving the United States after your studies. Where you want to go back to depends on where you call home. Okay, those who have permanent residence in Canada and they're coming to US to study, they have to say they are going back home. Home is Canada for them. Some may even say Nigeria if that is where they really want to go back to, if they really want to set up things there. So I think that's the approach you should use. All right. Okay, let me answer these two more questions. Then, if there are no more questions on Twitter, then we can end this space. Oh, Adenike, thank you too for joining in. Olajumoke, which school are you schooling? Oh, I'm doing physics. I'm doing nuclear physics at Florida State University. You are welcome to join us doing nuclear physics, Olajumoke. Oh, okay. Raphael, you're saying at 38 years, can you get through for AAS? I don't know what you mean by AAS. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So, King, you're asking if you owe the bank around 30 million, would that cost for a US? Would that cost for a US visa to be F1 visa to be declared? I don't know because again, where are you bringing your proof of fund from? Okay, that's what matters. They don't have access to your account. They don't have access to some of these things, but you have to show them a proof of fund. So, what does your proof of fund? What does your account says? It is what you give them that matters, right? So, and I don't know if your proof of fund, your account says how much you are owing or whatever. So, it's what you give them that matters. Of course, they can make findings and say, is this account true or not? That's just to show that your account is true, that you have this money there. People owe banks money. So, and then you have the timeline that you are paying back to the bank, maybe at a particular interest. I don't think that's a problem. Okay. I don't think that is a problem, but it's what your statement of account is saying. Okay. Okay. So here, like Femi said, and just ensure you've not been blacklisted. Okay, that's the main. If you have been blacklisted, then the if you are thinking you will owe bank money and then you jackpot with it or something, then you may be blacklisted. And if they've tried to confirm your account in the bank, they just say, "Oh, this person is blacklisted" and all those things. That's where the problem will come in. But if it's normal debt which you are paying back over time, which you have an agreement with the bank, I don't think that should be an issue. I don't think that should be a problem. All right, all right. Thank you so much, Bro John. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, Raphael, you're saying AS is Associate of Applied Sciences. You're 38 years. Oh, an associate degree. I thought as much. I think, Raphael, an associate degree at 38 years, uh, there's a red flag there. There's a red flag there, right? That means um, probably you already have your BSc, you probably have your BSc already, and then the VO is looking at you, you have a BSc, you want to go for an associate degree. Like, that's difficult to call. That's difficult to accept from personally for me. That's difficult for me to accept because I'll think about this way. Why are you going for a lower degree when you already have your BSc? Why are you going for an associate degree? That's what you really need to prove, that you really need an associate degree when you have a BSc. But it's a bit of red flag there. But I've seen young folks get the associates, get into schools for associate degrees. I've seen that happen very many times. So that's possible. If you're in the US, for example, let's say you have a permanent residence in the US, it won't be a problem because no one is seeing you as you want to run away with an associate degree. No one is looking at you that way. They just see, yeah, this passion. This person just wants to learn and all these things. Yeah. But when you're doing it from outside the US, to the viewer is looking somewhere like, this person has a BSc, wants to go for an associate degree, is 38 years old. And then they start, there's that conflict. But let's say you are someone who is like 16, and then you're saying you want to go for an associate degree, you don't have any other degree. The associate degree is an upgrade, right? So that's still possible. That's still possible. That's what I think. That's what I believe. Okay. Oluwakemi are saying, is it possible for Obi to get a senior lecturing job in the US? Is a PhD holder, senior lecturing job, Maybe with a PhD holder, maybe with experience, it's possible if there are openings. But of course, you have to know that it's very competitive because there are people inside the US who are applying. Okay, there are people inside US who are applying, and then they will employ someone who is already on ground before thinking of someone outside the country, except it's an area of need. Because many times it's easier to employ someone who has a permanent residence or who has what it takes to be converted to a permanent resident. Um, it's easier doing that than having someone outside the country. And there are a lot of people in the US who are looking for, who are gunning for lecturing positions, professorship, assistantship, assistant professors, and the like. And of course, many transition from their postdoc. Some are even doing postdoc in the school already, and they just transition to become an assistant professor and the like. So that's the issue. If he's a PhD, that one other option is for him to come for postdoc in the US. That's one option. Come for postdoc in the US. People who move from post. I know someone who just came from. He is a Nigerian, did PhD in South Africa, then came to the US. Not even one, like many, came to the US for postdoc, and then the person can transition from there, finish postdoc, maybe do another postdoc, get as an assistant professor position, and the person start climbing the ladder. So a good option for him with his PhD is to maybe just do a postdoc, apply for a postdoc. I want to perceive, I want to believe he's already lecturing in Nigeria. So I believe he's very good with his work. Whatever he's doing, he's very good with it. So you should just look out for professors who need students, who need postdoc in his field. Once he gets that, they can come in for a postdoc on a J1 visa, and then it can start transitioning from there. Okay, so that's very, very, very possible. So let me put out my email here. I remember. So even uh what's her name again? Amarach, no, Ogechukwu. If you are still here, let me just put my email here so you can email me directly. That would be nice. That'd be nice. All right, we'll take one last question from Twitter, and that will be it. All right, Femi. So let me say what Femi has said here. Femi on YouTube, he said, thanks for your time and this priceless information, Sam. He said, I was opportune to secure a fully funded offer, I added offer, with a tutu just with your info on Twitter. I appreciate them, Baba. They called me Baba, even though I'm a small boy. Coming by for 2023. Femi, we are expecting you. Yeah, I'm happy that you're able to secure a fully funded offer with your tutu. And that's what we've been preaching. These things are possible. Your grade is not the only thing they look at. They are looking at you as a whole. They are looking at your research experience, all other experience that you have. Okay, that's what they are looking at, not just your grade. So I'm happy you are living testimony, Femi. Thank you so much too for putting the information to use. All right, Princess, quickly let's have you. You'll be the last person who will be asking a question today before we leave here.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Princess.
Thanks for the session. It was really educative. My question is, also when you're applying, you don't have a current job at hand or you've not been doing something, then what will you use as a home type then? Or what you're doing currently is not related to what you're applying to. You know how it is here in Nigeria. We just do anything to receive at the meantime. Then.
Yeah, I understand that. So remember, I've said it again and again. Your plans can always serve as your home tie. Your plan, what you are coming back to Nigeria to do after your study, can always serve as your home tie. Okay. Of course, when you are young, for example, you just finished NYSC. Let's say you finish NYSC at 22. Let's say 22, you are done with NYSC, and then you are just even at that time you are now applying for school at that same time, and you are not really doing anything. Yeah, I mean, you are young, you just finished NYC, you have history to prove what you have been doing, right? Then what you want to do after all these studies will serve as your own time. Okay, now you are young, you don't have money to buy land, you don't have money to, you are not even receiving salary as such yet. You are just doing what we call jama, sell cream, sell onions, sell, do small chops, sell to people and all those stuff. That's what you are doing, right? So you don't have anything to prove in terms of money, in terms of big jobs and the like. Just talk about your future plans, your future goals. Tell them, when I come back to Nigeria, this is what I intend to do, this is what I intend to do. Your track record will bear you witness. What you have done, what you studied, what you want to do, and all those things will bear you witness. So I think that's one thing you can do. I always tell people your home ties can be your plans after your studies. Okay. I know people we've made a lot of we've made a mountain out of a, what do you call it now? Something tiny. Home tie, all the responses you've been given to the viewer. The viewer is just looking at you, okay, what does this mean? What does this relate to? Does this count as home tie and all those thoughts? Just be truthful as possible and talk about your plans coming back to Nigeria. They can serve as your home tie. Remember, F1, F2 visas are non-immigrant visas. Okay, they are non-immigrant visas, and you must respond according to that, because those things you are coming back to do to you in your country, they can serve as your own ties. I mean, if you are young, you've not done anything, the viewer will just have to look at your past, what you've done in the past. Are you a genuine student? Okay, those are the things. I hope that answers your question, Princess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
You are very much welcome. All right. Thank you so much for everyone who joined. This is 2 hours, 18 minutes. We've gone for 2 hours, 18 minutes. I planned it to be just below 2 hours. But yeah, this 2 hours, 18 minutes, we've had a very nice session. Thank you so much. There'll still be a session, which I'm sure with Twitter Space for this year. I think 30th of May, 30th of this December. So I want to join. We'll be talking about 2022 wins and losses. Then we talk about plans for 2023. We did this same session last year, and I know those who came to talk about their plans for 2023, being that they want to be in school, they want to be in the US, blah blah. Some of them are in US already now. So come and talk about your plans, talk about your wins and losses. Let's encourage each other, and then plan for 2023. You might even find people with like-mind passion who will work together with you. You will do things together in the line in which you want to do stuffs. Okay, you might find people in that category, and then you'll be able to work together. We've seen a lot of that in many of these spaces, especially that one that we had last year. Many of them are testimonies now. Some people eventually work together through the space they met and all those things, and things work together for them, and some of them are doing fine now. So that will be on the 30th of December, this 30th. There may be other impromptu spaces that come up before that time, but that one is very, very important. I would love to see you there as well. Thanks so much for joining me. God bless you. Real good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, Mayowa, I see you on YouTube. Yeah, thank you too for joining in. God bless you. Sadi, thank you too for joining in. All right, God bless you. See you next time.